Hi folks, welcome to the China versus Europe Championship again. So today we have the second of our games, and this one, the top one, between Reinhard and Super Duck. So as you can see, this has not been updated yet. We had one game yesterday between Adam and Raius. So Raius drops to the loser's bracket and Adam continues in the winner's bracket. So if you don't know how the system works, you can check that video at the end. We talk about that in detail. And today's player, so the game is just starting. Reinhard, as we know, he is a famous Targaryen player. So it's easy to predict the faction he will play, but not the exact deck. And for Super Duck, his opponent, we don't have that much information, obviously, because not all of the tournaments will be entered online. So just 5 entries, but I think in the introduction to this tournament, when all the players were introduced, it was said that he is most comfortable with playing Tyrell. So we'll see if that is the choice today. And again, I am joined by Lukas. Good morning, Lukas.
Good morning.
So how do you see this one going?
I'm really excited for this game. Reinhard is always a very, very strong player, always on top of his game, especially with Targaryen, and he can play a great variety of Targaryen decks, either burn or just big characters or military pressure all the way. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he got in store for us today.
Yeah, as a faction loyalist, I guess playing Targaryen is not too bad because they really are quite different decks. You can go with, I think this will be Prince Khal Drogo. We'll see.
And on the Super Duck side, we have Martell Battle of the Trident, which has been performing quite well, if I remember correctly, in the last weeks. Steven is also playing a version of this deck in the Champions of Westeros tournament and is doing really well with it.
Yeah, I have his game from the top 8 recorded. I will upload it, I think, when Steven goes out, just to be fair to all the players who won't upload their games while they're still in the tournament. We'll have a look at that, and yeah, I'm guessing it's pretty similar. There is some variety with plots you can choose, obviously, but with being limited to these 3 traits, it might be reasonably similar. And
What
Drogo
is
named
a
as the
what is a
prince.
common opener for Battle of the Trident? I haven't seen those decks in action much yet.
Yeah, it should be the new plot for the realm that reduces the cost of armies and strongholds by 4.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
It's effectively an 8 gold plot. Card in shadows for Reinhardt and good economy. So I wonder, the Prince Drogo is presumably the one from the Targaryen box and not the core set version.
Yeah, I would think so too. Irine's Market, isn't that on the restricted list or is it just in a pod?
Good question.
Can't remember.
Have a quick look.
It's on the restricted list, so Mirine's Market is the restricted card of choice for Reinhardt's deck.
Yeah, so basically that means no Shadow of the East, and there is some limitation as to plots, so it won't be any you win or you die or exchange of information. And Galtown in play on the other side, which increases the number of used plots, which this deck kind of can't inflate that much because of the effect at the bottom of the agenda that forces you to remove one from the game.
Yeah, but it still helps with all the Martell synergies.
And now we have the Iron Throne naming Khal Drogo, so he won't be coming into play in the marshalling phase until this is somehow taken care of. And if Reinhardt doesn't have any direct counterplay to this, there will be trouble, obviously.
I'm thinking about ways he could counter the Iron Throne. Maybe Seized is in his deck, or put to the Torch. We will see.
Yeah, lay waste. Nightmares doesn't work because of the timing. And Khal Drogo, he can come into play, I think, with the plot, the Targaryen plot, or I guess with the Dothraki Sea that is unlikely to be in the deck. But I think most of the time he would be marshaled.
Oh, or the event Overwhelming Numbers. I think that would work too.
Right.
Seems like Reinhard is taking quite a while to think over his marshalling. Probably the Iron Throne call for Khal Drogo was a really good idea.
Yeah, so this takes a bit of time to master. I guess if you play Battle of the Trident yourself, you know all the tricks you can do, but for the opponent, it requires some thinking. So the plots can be revealed according to the different challenges, which means you have to know which ones to defend to prevent certain plots like March to the Wall. But there is an advantage in Martell because they can reveal at Prince Duran's behest in the challenges phase, which then allows them to reveal plot without any trait limitations. So that happens in the Intrigue challenge.
That's a really strong move. I wasn't aware of that yet.
Yeah, I just
Synergy.
the other day I had basically that situation. I could do nothing about it in one of my games, and it was behest into desperate. Is it desperate attack? The one with 3 claim.
Oh, that gotta hurt.
Because that's itself is, I think, a war plot. So if you do it during a military challenge, it's after claim, so you don't get the 3 claim military. But if you do it with behest during an intrigue challenge, you can then do a 3 claim military as well to follow it up.
Hey, on to the challenges phase, and Reinhard starts off strong with Kotho, discarding Khal Drogo and a Horse Lord for the effect. And now we have the possibility of Reinhard going in with both of his Dothrakis on the board, triggering overwhelming numbers to get Khal Drogo into play.
Yeah, and it is the box version. So that discards 1 card from hand to save something that would be returned to hand. So those are the Dothraki characters that are with various effects returned to hand sometimes.
Military challenge from Reinhard goes through unopposed and claims a Ricasso dupe. And now we probably will see a Intrigue challenge with Eri and Kotho.
And yeah, just seeing these cards, I think this deck is quite a bit different from Stevens because Galtan and Ricasso suggests you're really trying to increase the number of used plots possibly for Duran's game here. Or
Doran's game and
maybe
of course
the armies that intimidate.
correct, yeah.
And of course Cletus is a great character here. Wins initiative every round if you can increase the number.
Here we go, as expected, overwhelming numbers.
Right, and then Khal Drogo can save himself, I think, and stay in play.
Yep, and I think he could also save the Horse Lord if he wanted to, but maybe that would open his board up for a reset. But I guess you can't play Valar Morghulis in Battle of the Trident.
And the pinch on Ricasso as well, so very strong early pressure here. Yeah, Wildfire Assault is the only reset you have access to, basically. And it's not that strong a reset, but Wildfire into Desperate Attack, of course, can put the pressure on. But I don't think this particular deck is worried about that, really. I think it plays Duran's game. And Dupe of Gates discarded, so now Khal Drogo stays in play and difficult to get rid of him for the remainder of the game. And now there is the question of what the agenda can do. So Klitos is not an army or commander, so Intrigue Challenge is not the threat here, but the other two. So you can reveal a war or a siege plot.
What are you expecting from siege or war plots in this situation?
Well, I couldn't really say. So Heads on Spikes is presumably in the deck, and March to the Wall. In the Power Challenge Siege you can get Siege Preparations, but with 5 cards in hand it's a bit early for that.
Wasn't there a plot, I don't know the trade of it, with only 1 gold and you can put a
Reinforcements, yes.
Reinforcements, yes, that's one. That
could
might be an option.
put Ricasso back and there is 1 gold to bestow.
It's on spikes, hitting the pinch of powder, so no power gain for Super Duck.
And the faction card is knelt, so no more agenda triggers. Lots of power gained in round 1. So I'm just having a quick look at what possibly could be in the deck. So Duel is a card that exists, and I don't think we'll see a Storm of Swords. Those are the tricks that can unexpectedly then kill off some characters.
Right, but Duel wouldn't do much yet. We will have to see what other big characters Reinhard is playing.
Right. I did have it revealed against me in my last game when I had the 7-cost Cersei and 6-cost Jaime on the board, and both still standing,
Choice.
so unpleasant.
Unpleasant indeed.
And on the which one is it? Intrigue Challenge, so Edict Plot is of course Behest, which can then reveal anything. And there is Marched available, so using that immediately. I guess, as I said, this deck cares more about the number of used plots, so going for that to increase it.
Makes sense, yes.
And,
but First Snow of Winter on Reinhard's side,
yeah, and there's
is really looking good.
No obvious way to counter that, I think. So what do we reveal here? There is nothing else with really big gold to play out the big characters, but I don't think...
Maybe another For the Realm might help on Super Duck's side.
It's questionable whether there is anything to be played with the gold here.
Little card in shadows for Reinhard. Probably won't be Pinch of Powder, might be Aegon. Might be a Shadow Black Assassin.
Forced March is... I'm not sure if that was the original plan, since he took a while to think about it, but it's really the best he can do here. So losing 2 power for his poor fellows, but at least most of the board now should be knelt. And here we'll see the Iron Throne probably. No, not this time.
7 gold on Super Dark side. We will see what he can put out. Okay. Just goes for Starfall Cavalry. And
Okay.
already drawing 3 cards.
Intimidate armies. No, that's not the Intimidate army, sorry. I was thinking he could go first and then maybe limit the damage, but no. And intriguing military icon, so there will be 12 cards in hand.
That's really a lot on a 5 reserve plot.
So if he could swap it for something with decent reserve, but it's not that easy.
And he first has to win the challenge, I guess.
And if Reinhardt has a power icon with 5 strength, of course he can stand Khal Drogo, which will be annoying for Super Duck.
Aegon in shadows, bringing in a Raiding Katasar would be the best, I think. Okay, putting in a Horse Lord. Maybe Reinhard forgot about his own plot.
Yeah.
Or is there some trick I don't see? Ah, of course he can just discard cards to save it.
Oh, that's a nice little bit of synergy. I didn't think of that.
Does Khal Drogo's interrupt have a limit? No limit on that interrupt. That's pretty strong in this occasion.
Yeah, if you have the cards, of course. So Time of Plenty first round, and we might see just yeah. We might see some straight draw to follow this up, like a counting coppers. He cannot play exchange, of course, because it's restricted along with the market.
Right.
But the Horse Lord himself is not enough to stand Khal Drogo, so there will need to be Aegon or something else in shadows.
Blood of My Blood is named with Iron Throne.
And that's fair enough, that is one of the cards that could hurt him here.
And we have a To the Spears on Super Dark side. And here we go, Battle of the Trident triggered. Smart move, manning the city walls to put in poor fellows. Maybe not the best card or the most efficient card to put in with manning the city walls, but can't be picky if you have only one character on the board.
Yeah. And this is where Galtown is of course useful to make sure the cost you can choose is 6 here.
Intrigue Challenge also goes through unopposed, and Power Challenge on Super Dark side. Aegon triggered immediately, bringing in a Waiting Kalasar, as expected. Kalasar defense for 6 and might trigger Reinhard's agenda.
Yeah, here is where the trouble starts.
Reinhard skipping the Intrigue Challenge because Super Dark has to discard, I guess, 4 cards anyway for reserve. So chooses unopposed Intrigue, unopposed Power and unopposed Military.
Yeah, some of those events that we saw yesterday would be nice here, like Burning on the Sand. But it's not that kind of deck.
An almost non-annoying version of a Martell deck, I'm amazed. Reinhard is not saving the Waiting Kalasar.
Yeah, interesting. So that's quite an investment to put it back.
Or maybe he has no other good target in hand for Fury of the Kalasar plot that puts in a character.
Yeah, possibly. Or he's just keeping it to 3 characters to play around Wildfire Assault now.
That would also be a smart move, yeah. Okay, round 3 starting now. Reinhard on 6, Super Dark on 4 power. Interesting. Super Dark discarding a Secret Schemes for reserve.
And another 2 events, so no way to play the Annals of Castle Black with this agenda. So he must have 6 pretty decent cards. Of course, Secret Schemes doesn't need the faction card, so it conflicts with the agenda. And Marched gets rid of the last character point and on the other hand gets rid of some power, giving Super Duck plenty of time for his own game plan. If he does play Doran's game and gets it to 5 power, that's still at any point I guess for Martell that's close to victory. He would need 2 to get to 14 for instance.
Yep.
Although he did discard a couple of hands judgments, so it's a bit of a gamble that Reinhardt is not playing any cancels if he has the runs game, because you do normally need to protect that.
If I know one thing about Reinhard's deck, he also always includes nightmares at least. I think would be not far-fetched for him to include Hans judgments as well. Keeping 3 gold for the challenges phase.
And this time the Iron Throne used in marshalling, so that blood of my blood that was prevented earlier is an option. And of course again, overwhelming numbers. So the colors are coming in some way. To increase military claim to 2 would be very damaging.
Going for the intrigue challenge with his lone blood rider, so I guess no raiding Kalasar claim ways this turn. And we have the Prince's plan on Super Duck's side. Okay, he's playing it preemptively to prevent from being discarded for intrigue claim, giving the Desert Raider a power icon.
And here is where the markets do their excellent job of filtering the discard pile. So now getting that event back, although this round the gold is 0, so...
But it's always a smart move to just do it as soon as you can.
It's a good effort of defending this, but overwhelming numbers should increase the strength enough for Khal Drogo to stand again.
Might also put in another Blood Rider along with the Raiding Kalasar to raise the claim. There we go.
And doesn't even need the icon, interesting.
One might say it's a strong event.
Yeah, it is. Back in the day, of course, with the original version of Sea of Blood, this was a very common play. And since then, it's been, I guess, kind of limited to this type of deck. Which is nice to see, but still very strong if you have the cards that support it. And colors are discarded from hand to save the devoted Blood Rider.
Okay, interesting.
So there is another one in hand now that was returned, right? So this is an interrupt, which means one was in hand that was discarded and then one was returned and is in hand now.
I'm not so sure about it. Maybe the interrupt doesn't work as a whole on Iron Throne. Might be it's sequential and you could discard the same Raiding Kalasar that just returned to hand.
Guess we'll find out.
Reinhard now up to 8 power against Super Duck with 2.
And now we are getting to the end of the... Oh, actually, it's only round 3. I thought there were more plots revealed, so it will be a while before Reinhard has to reveal something he doesn't like. And it's Vanquish the Unbelievers, which can easily name the Dothraki trait. Everything survives. And the second Manning. Now is there something bigger this time? And there is Starfall Cavalry.
Knights of the Sun, okay.
Knights of the Sun,
maybe not the best.
not quite as good as the cavalry, but decent. So 6, there could have been the Intimidate army as well in theory.
Reinhard also made Super Dark the first player, even though the Intimidate army was a possible threat. Interesting move.
What is this going to call the Kalasar again? Yeah. Problem is you don't exactly know which tricks are in hand to cheat it into play. And yeah, at the start when I said the Iron Throne would be really great against Prince Drogo, there was no problem really. There's plenty of ways to get him into play, and then he just saves himself.
Yep.
And that's,
I expected the throne to be much more of a problem, honestly.
yeah, it's not even stopping the non-prince cards it wants to stop. But here comes Ricasso again, and Pinch of Powder was discarded with Heads on Spikes earlier, so he's probably here to stay, which increases the number of plots to 7 with Ricasso and Galtown.
Oh boy, and a supercharged Dawn on the Knights of the Sun.
And this is where that Secret Schemes that was discarded for reserve would have drawn 7 cards.
Yep. Card in Shadows for Reinhard might be another Aegon.
Yeah, or another Pinch.
And Vakao marshaled on Reinhard's side. It's I think he's from the Targaryen box, right? Dragons of the East.
Yes, I think so. So that basically gets you the intrigue claim during military. Get rid of that final card.
And 3 gold left, so Aegon into raiding Kalasar still a possibility. Superduck going in strong with a power challenge for 14.
So Dawn does not give Intimidate in this case. But of course there is Wildfire Assault here as a possible threat, but that is that a siege plot?
I think it's war, right?
It's war and scheme, I think, so it would need to be a military challenge to reveal that. So I wonder what the purpose is of this huge power challenge. And still Reinhard just defends and has the stand of Drogo, but not the Kalasar with the claim rise now.
And Rakaro only triggers on attack, so no bonus intrigue claim. Okay, Reinhard wins intrigue. And probably will also win military and power challenge.
I was just looking at the edict plots, so there is, I mean siege plots, so don't see anything really great that you would want to commit to reveal. Possibly the one that does the most is fortified position, but still not that great, so it would stop some renown. That's the only thing. And now, of course, Super Duck does get stuck with his last three plots that he possibly does not wish to reveal. If it's reinforcements and you reveal it in the plot phase, of course, it's very low gold. But Wildfire Assault is still available.
And would also come at a great point in time.
Yeah, down to 3. So a couple of characters here. Which one is it? So yeah, the Kalasar can go back to hand. Everything else I think stays. And this should be 13 power now.
Dominance is tied, I think. Yep.
And now maybe the Targaryen plot to push on for the win.
Would really help, even though we will probably see a reset on Super Duck side. But won't do much, I think. No cards in hand.
Yeah, as expected.
Super Duck going first.
Yeah, I think he has no choice really now, so he needs to kill something off and intimidate something, but he needs a good top deck to do that. Secret Schemes would be a good top deck. Okay, so let's see what the plot does. It reacts to the challenges phase beginning, the same as the Iron Throne. Into play from your hand, so Kalasar in the discard pile, both of them. It was discarded for reserve. But you can, I think he will possibly now use it in the challenges phase to name something.
Makes sense, yeah.
Of course, he is guessing a little bit. On the other hand, if he has nothing here, he could concede immediately.
that is always an option.
Prince's plan would give +8 strength and an icon, so that could be strong to defend if he wants to survive the round. Still kind of needs to survive more than one to force Reinhard to reveal whatever his reset is, if there is one.
It will be really hard to do, considering Reinhard is on 13 power.
Okay, Windblown is not too bad. Stands a huge character potentially. Late with
Late
this.
dawn. And onto the challenger's phase, and throne triggered for probably the Kalasar. Makes the most sense.
Yeah, so it's unlikely to be in hand, but then it could come into play again with overwhelming numbers or blood of my blood. Does that work? For a blood rider, yeah. That wouldn't work, but overwhelming numbers I think is the threat, and there is another useful character coming in anyway. 6 strength currently, but it can be increased. And Super Duck cannot intimidate anything, and there's too many characters anyway, so he needs to try to defend.
And Reinhard just going in for the killing blow. (18) against 16.
And
No tricks in hand.
one renown, so it's not game winning because there is no power claim.
Oh, right, yeah. But depending on how Super Duck will defend this, Khal Drogo will go in for another renown on the military challenge. But of course, you would have first to win the military challenge.
Okay, missed something.
Oh, G-Key
Nice.
was able to trigger. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was decided anyway, simply because of the time limit to come back and get to 15 power for Super Duck. By top decking, basically, would need to top deck a couple of the runs games to have any chance. So it was game over probably for a while. Yeah, really nicely played here by Reinhardt. Very strong pressure right from the start, and I think first now was the plot that really did it for him.
Definitely, yeah. Well played by both players, and congratulations to Reinhard.
Okay, so let's have a quick look at how things stand. So this maybe will be all updated after all of the games are completed. So Reinhardt goes into round 2. His opponent at this point is not yet known, and we also have Adam Huang in the other round 2 game, also waiting for his opponent to come tomorrow. And then in the losers bracket, so Super Duck is in the first one, and then in the other one we have Rios, also both waiting for their opponents, depending on what happens tomorrow with these two games. And do we have the graphic we had yesterday? Let me just search for it. Okay, here it is. So this is the schedule. So today's game was mislabeled. It was an hour earlier, but hopefully tomorrow's are correct. So we have another two games between the Chinese and the European players. So Alex playing against Robin, and then Robert is playing against the other Chinese player. I think his name is Lee. Not sure what his username is on the Iron Throne. I guess we'll see. So one at noon and then one at 2 p.m. in Central Europe. And hopefully we can record both of those. What do you think, Lukas?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Might be I'm available tomorrow. We'll have to check my schedule.
Okay, so as for today, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Alright, take care, bye bye.